Welcome back to Inside City Hall. A federal judge is giving the city and a federal monitor 3 weeks to come up with a plan to transform the violence-plagued Rikers Island. On the same day, Mayor Eric Adams announced funding for 578 new correction officers. Adams says that the new officers will help implement the department's new restrictive housing, which will replace solitary confinement. Here with me now to talk about that and more is Boscio. He's the president of the Correction Officers Benevolent Association. Thanks so much for being here. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Errol. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. I'm sure you know this. The federal monitor, members of the congressional delegation, now the U.S. attorney are all saying that federal receivership may be necessary. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, look, just because a receiver comes in, it's not like he's going to wave a magic, he or she's going to wave a magic wand and all our problems are going to go away. I mean, look, this has been 8 years of neglect by the de Blasio administration that has led to the circumstances that we find ourselves in now. Look, we have a new mayor, we have a new commissioner, and we believe that they should get an opportunity to fix, the problems that we've been plagued with for years. The 3 prior commissioners had no New York jail experience. We have somebody that has some experience now in terms of New York jail experience, and, things are starting to head in the right direction, but 8 years of neglect is not going to happen overnight, fixing it in 4 months' time.
The issue that so many people, including the monitor, including Commissioner Schiraldi, who was on just the other day, keep coming back to is the high rate of absenteeism, where the monitor in particular says you can't do anything if you've got 18 and 20 and 30% rates of absenteeism. Even like 578 new officers. We don't want to hire, 578 officers and, hope that 400 of them show up on any given day. How do we get around that?
Well, I mean, look, there's this narrative out there like people are feigning illness and people are out sick. The reality is, Errol, 1,500 correction officers have been assaulted in the last year, right? We visit officers in the hospital, broken orbitals, broken noses, serious injuries that require surgery in some cases, not hiring correction officers in a 3-year span and losing 3,000 officers due to resignations because of our conditions being so bad and retirements. And in that time frame, only 75 officers graduated from the academy, working double shifts, triple shifts, putting in that many hours of overtime, not getting a meal break. We've been set up to fail. And once our elected officials decided that they were going to close Rikers Island, at that point, it was like everybody just turned their back on us. We're the most diverse workforce in the city of New York. We're 85% black and brown. The people in our custody are black and brown, and no other city agency, Errol, gets treated the way we do. Our thing is, look, it's not a correction officer's fault for everything that's wrong with the criminal justice system. We're the last stop on the train, but we're getting blamed for everything under the sun. And it's not right, Errol. It really isn't.
No, I get that. And I mean, look, even your 2 predecessors, in fact, I talked about this often with them about how you're the only city workers I know of who are on a daily basis subjected to the kind of attacks and, urine and feces and all kinds of disgusting attacks that you have to put up with all the time. On the other hand, trying to get through it if you have, again, the high rates of, from whatever source, whether it's people malingering, whether they're actually injured. I mean, you've got a staff there at COBA headquarters that, you've got to deal with a lot of different things. You wouldn't be able to run your office with an 18 or 20 or 30% absentee rate, right? I mean, how do we get around that?
I mean, look, Errol, no other workforce in the city of New York is getting assaulted like we are. There's all kind of consequences. We have a federal monitor that's based out in Texas, putting report after report about violence, and we're being disciplined. There's all consequences for officers, but no viable consequences for inmate actions. And that's the problem that we have here. Look, you have an inmate coming at you with a weapon, to hurt you, and you defend yourself, and use force and you punch the inmate in the face. Oh, we understand you use force, but guess what? You hit him in the face. Now you got to lose 30 days of vacation time. And this has been the aura that we've been in, the prior administration housing inmates by their gang affiliation, putting us at a disadvantage where we can't manage the population like that, Errol. We now have a commissioner that has taken our advice, started to break up the gang affiliated houses, is doing tactical search operations. We are finding contraband from makeshift weapons that inmates have. So we believe that this administration needs a chance. But like I said, Errol, no other city workforce, no other workforce is being assaulted at the alarming rate that we are. And when you've watered down the consequences for inmate actions, this is what you have. This is the result of people being out sick. It's not right. You don't hire in 3 years, and that's our fault. Right. You don't keep up with the infrastructure on Rikers, Errol, and that's our fault.
Right, but here again, this is, let me take you back to where we started. I mean, are you taking specific steps to head off receivership? Because the Monitor has made very, very clear that if there continue to be these incidents where, individuals are exiting cells and pens and housing units, and, there are security breaches and there are, unmanned stations and so forth, for whatever reasons, they're just not going to allow this, along with the rising levels of violence.
Well, look, then give us the resources that we need to do the job. We're the best equipped. We're the boots on the ground. We know what works and what doesn't work. And the reality is that they put us in this mess, Errol. You can't get blood out of a rock. If we don't have the staff to do it, and we have people out sick because they're injured, pending surgery, broken, like, Errol, if you get punched in the face and your orbital's broken, we're not coming to work the next day. I got injured officers that can't work behind the gate with these violent inmates. Bail reform now, right? We're dealing with a more violent individual that are facing high felony charges. We're not dealing with your turnstile jumpers anymore. And this is what they set us up to fail.
Well, but are you now set up to succeed? Because I'm looking, this is from the Monitor's report. They said in late January, there were 7,600 uniformed staff, give or take, 7,674. And close to 1,500 of them were out on sick leave. That's 19%. Even if you somehow magically got 578 officers, trained through the academy and on duty tomorrow, that's not gonna solve that particular issue, right?
You're right. It's not going to be an instant fix at that time frame. But yeah, but this is the 3 years of neglect, and then you blame us for it, right? Well, it's not our fault that officers haven't been hired. In that, look. What other city? They just put in 800 police officers, right? And when we have, 75 that were hired in that time frame. Why is that, Errol? Somebody tell me why is that? At the alarming rate that we were getting assaulted and going out. We believe, look, we're grateful to Mayor Adams for the 578 officers. That's a good start. That's a good start. But the reality is that we can't do it without the resources. And because of the assaults, this is where we find ourselves today, Errol. We're not condoning anybody being out sick. Mayor de Blasio sued us and said we were doing a job action, telling people to stay home. Can you imagine? Like, I'm going to tell people to stay home sick so that my members that are coming to work every day, I'm going to put them more at risk? That's ridiculous.
Okay, well, let me just end on this then. I mean, the most serious problem, if receivership happens, is that one of the first things the receiver would have the power to do, not to say that they would be to void the contract, right? And then you have to go back to square one.
We don't believe that to be true. They still have to follow civil service law. There's a disciplinary procedure they have to follow state law. So yeah, the Legal Aid Society coming in with that nonsense about that they could just do away with our contract. So what are you telling me? Anytime the city of New York wants to do away with anybody's collective bargaining agreement, they could bring in a receiver and say, oh, guess what? You don't have a collective bargaining agreement anymore? We still have laws, and we're going to fight that to the end if anybody tries to come at us with that. We still have rights. We're civil servants. 85% black and brown, and this is that's what they're looking to do to us? This is where they want to go, Errol? Come on.
Okay.
They've neglected us for years, and now this is the end result, and they want to blame us for it. And it's not right, Errol. All we're asking for is to be fair, treated fairly in the city of New York, like every other workforce, like every other uniformed force in this city. We do a very dangerous job, and that's the reason why we have the sick leave policy that we have. Not everybody shows up to work and is going to be in the dangers that we are on an everyday basis.
Okay, we're going to leave it there for now. We will wish you the best of luck. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Really appreciate you, Errol. Thank you.
Okay, all right, let's take a break now. Coming up, we're going to have more on the redistricting ruling and what it will mean for the upcoming primary election when I'm joined by my politics panel. Stay with us.